And welcome back to the Hub of Junior Golf Podcast. I'm Ryan Bird, joined as always by the founder of the Junior Golf Hub, Roger Nick. Roger, we are at June 15th. It is the holy grail of dates in college golf recruiting. All those sophomores that just finished their sophomore year, going into their junior year, they all have in big highlighters June 15th on their calendar as a big day. It is a big day because it officially marks the beginning, but I don't think it's the end all day. And I think more kids that will play college golf will not be signing or declaring or making decisions on June 15th than will. Certainly there are some that the deal is already done, so to speak, and amazingly, for the first time, they will speak on June 15th and everything will be a done deal. But nonetheless, it is an important day in the process. And I think that's an important word. It's an important part of the process, as now you can talk openly with coaches. And as a player, as a family of a junior golfer, you can start to make decisions on what coach, what school is the right fit for you.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what Coach Pulliam is going to have to say about June 15th. You know, we've heard it before with some of the other coaches talking about how it's an exciting time for them. You know, they look forward to staying up late at night and calling their top guy or gals that's, on their list and saying, hey, you know what? Hey, we're interested. What do you think? Right. So it's going to be interesting to hear how it has, or if it is actually changing more relative because of let's say what it is, because of the transfer portal. Is it really changing? Right. As we heard in our last podcast, the coach was, hey, still traditional, still going down the high school route, and very excited about June 15th. Right. So very interesting to hear, what Coach Pulliam has to say.
As someone that obviously through your performance center have had hundreds and hundreds of players that have gone on to play college golf under your tutelage, what ultimately was your words of wisdom as they and their families started the recruiting process? What would, having gone through it so many times with so many of your players, what was the word of advice for the starting point?
Starting point is it really is do your job, right? Do what's required of you that you have to do for not only the golf side, but the athletic side, or I'm sorry, the academic side. So get your grades in order, get your golf skills in order, and just do your job, and things will take care of itself. As you know, with the Junior Golf Hub, we have a checklist, and we kind of go through that whole process, right off the bat, making sure that they have all their I's dotted and T's crossed, if you will. So it's really part of the process, as you said. This is not an end-all, be-all day. It is a part of the process. So not put too much emphasis on whether you get a call right away or don't get a call. It's just keep doing your job.
No doubt. And certainly, as we said, there will be many more boys and girls that ultimately make their decision on where to go to college and play college golf after June 15th than will on that day that the NCAA has designated as the start of the recruiting process with contact from coaches and player. And with that, we welcome in the assistant coach at Fresno State University, Lane Pulliam. Lane, thanks so much for joining us today. We certainly are excited to talk to you. I believe, as far as the coaching fraternity is concerned, you are the youngest coach we've ever had on the podcast. So if nothing else, you are breaking records in that department. But thanks for coming aboard. Roger and I just kind of discussing the June 15th hitting this week is obviously a big day for junior golfers. We know it's a big day for collegiate coaches as well, just as a starting point. In your office, in what you guys are trying to do at Fresno, what happens on June 15th with you and potential recruits?
Yeah, I just first want to say thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. Really like the show. You guys give out a lot of good advice. Hopefully I can add to that. But actually, I'm going on a recruiting trip tomorrow. So we're still recruiting right now. But as far as like contacting kids, me and Coach Spencer both have a list of guys. We're going to go down. We're going to call every single one of them, try to get a contact, and then hopefully start setting up visits for August.
Yeah, Coach, when you're doing that, is there a way that if you don't get in contact with them right away, do you have a secondary list? Do you have, how are you picking your list? Let's start there. How are you picking your list?
I think everybody kind of starts with like rankings. We'll look at the rankings first, kind of figure out because we aren't like some other schools in California, right? We're not going to get the top probably 5 to even 10 kids. So we're looking class rank, right? We go down. Okay, this is kind of in our range. This is kind of our niche, and then after that, we kind of look for sleepers. That's kind of how we have been able to be good the last 8 years really is we have to get a guy that is getting overlooked. They're getting like not a lot of offers right away, and we have to just kind of find those guys. We find a lot of those guys honestly through amateur golf. So a lot of juniors that'll be playing in an amateur tournament with one of our guys, we're like, oh, who is this? Like I don't know who this is. Um, that's kind of where we've been lucky.
Got it. One of the things, Coach, we're going to jump in. I'm going to jump into it. Ryan is probably is biting at the bit right now to say this or ask this, but okay, transfer portal, traditional list, traditional high school route. How does it look for you guys?
Um, I think that we're a mix. I think we're a very healthy mix. We generally will get 2 to 3 kids every year junior golf, and then we like to save a spot for the transfer portal. So this upcoming year, we always save 2, right? We have 2 kids coming in and then 1 transfer. That's kind of how our teams looked in the past. And we've been fortunate. We haven't lost very many players to the transfer portal. I think that is a big show for our culture here. People that come here want to stay. That's just kind of how our program has been run. That's how Coach Spencer has set it up. We've got a great culture here, and just happy to be a part of it, and hopefully keep it moving.
I want to touch on that sleeper idea, and recruiting budgets, they are what they are, and to your point, you said it. You start with a ranking system, and it's a number. And as I kind of said, I mean, most kids that are going Division I, California Division I schools, they're shooting between 68 and 73. And, they have their outlier where they shoot 65, and probably on a bad day, they're shooting 76, 77. And you're talking about hundreds, if not thousands of kids that are all in that exact same kind of good, bad, in between. And the reality is in golf, as we know, I mean, you see, take whoever you want. Take Scotty Scheffler out of it because he might be the outlier of that. But, Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas, they can finish first, they can finish last. And they can do that in a 2-week period where they can win on Sunday, show up at the next event on Thursday, and be in last place. It happened in 4 days. Are they what happened? Well, it's the game of golf. Because the golf can be so turbulent, the good, the bad, the in-between, good bounce, bad bounce. I chipped in for eagle, and I hit the flagstick and went in the water. Like, things happen that ultimately decide your score. Is the ranking system really a fair way to evaluate who, quote unquote, are the best players?
It's hard because if you look at the top 20 in every ranking system, the names are pretty similar.
Yeah.
Right. But as far as like we're looking at kids that might not play in AJGAs because they don't have enough stars, they didn't start early enough, they didn't get into the preseason stuff. Honestly, probably not really. Like the guys that we're looking at, I mean, one of the kids we have committed right now is ranked really poorly in junior golf scoreboard, but he is a great player. Like he plays a lot of amateur stuff, or he plays in a lot of qualifiers trying to get into stuff. But it's so hard to get in AJGAs now. So and then like how if you're not using the full sample, how do you really show how good someone is, right? Because his amateur golf stuff is not in any junior golf really scoreboard. Like junior golf scoreboard doesn't have it in there. And it's hard because how do you rate it? Basically, my answer is for the most part, I think it's pretty solid, right? But I think all the coaches that have been on here have all talked about like, hey, this is a starting place. We look deeper and then kind of find our guys from there.
Well, Coach, part of that is that, one of the things we've talked about and we've heard from coaches is assessing a player's skill level versus score, looking at that, maybe that diamond in the rough player, if you will. I know from our experience at the Golf Performance Center Academy, we created the PDI and what we do in skill assessment, mental assessment, and physical assessment. Do you guys look at something similar to when you start to say, hey, I'm down to 10 guys, I'm down to 20, how do I now differentiate who's going to get the nod? What do you guys do to get that next to that next step with the best players?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think we're using something very similar to PDI. I think that's a great asset. It's honestly awesome that you guys have implemented that and put it into your guys' website. We really look, obviously you see the golf, right? Everybody talks about ball speed. Ball speed's awesome. But if guys are really good with ball speed, we're not going to get those guys. At the end of the day, like that's not who's going to come to us. They're going to go to USC, they're going to go to UCLA, they're going to go to Stanford, places like that. I think for us, our big thing is, hey, does this guy just absolutely love golf? Does he love just to grind? Those are the guys that we need, We have a guy on our team, he just graduated. He came in, he's 5'8", 135, right? He hit the ball 270. Didn't hit it anywhere. He just graduated at 5'8", 165. Put 30 pounds of muscle on. And now he moves it out there 310. Easy, right? Those are the types of guys that really change our program for us. And that's kind of what we're looking for. We poke around. We ask your coach, your swing coach, high school coach. We ask anybody that we can that'll give us some information, So that's kind of what we're looking for. We're really looking for someone that kind of fits our culture, hardworking, just good guys, really.
Coach, you said, and every coach we've talked to, male or female, has said this, and I never really asked the question, but there has to be something to it, or you all wouldn't say it. So every coach says, well, they got to love golf. Are there a lot of kids that are playing college golf that don't love golf?
I think that there are some that love golf, love junior golf, and then you get into the college golf atmosphere, and it's a lot, right? Like everybody knows how difficult it is. And that I just think that it really wears on the love for golf, because most of us started out, right? When we started out playing, it was, hey, I'm going to go out and hang out with my friends on the weekend. I'm going to go play some golf, some junior golf, right? That's how most people start. And then it becomes a job. So it's almost like you have to find someone that really, like for us anyway, if we know that someone works hard in everything, this is why I think grades are so important in recruiting student athletes, is if someone just works hard throughout a lot of aspects of their life, you know that they're going to work hard in golf, and they're probably going to continue down this path. So the loving golf thing, I think it does fade. A lot of people fade in college because it's so hard. The schedule's tough, school's tough. But yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't you say that's almost like having 3 full-time jobs when you really think about it? As a student, that's a full-time job. If you're a golfer at that level, it's a full-time kind of job. And then you've got to have a social life, and being your own person. That's a full-time job. And that's a tough thing for a lot of these kids and young athletes to manage, especially maybe it's the first time they've been away from home. And it's a message that we hear quite often is, the parents really help them out and they do so much for them, or the kids are not acting independently, if you will. And it's the first time they get away from their parent managing these jobs for them, right? So it's now all on them. And to your point of, not loving something, if you don't love it, boy, it does become a real job really quick. And not everybody likes the work.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I want to know what you said. You're heading out on the road tomorrow. Does that, without giving away too many of your secrets, does that include juniors that are are just finishing their junior year that are going into their senior year? Or are you already beyond that and into a younger class? I'm curious how early it starts in the process for you guys identifying.
Yeah, we are the mid-major camp, right? So we either have to get guys before they break out and before the big schools see them, or we have to get them really late. There's really no in between for us, right? We had a kid the last graduating class, 2025, where it was like, hey, he hadn't really done anything. We know he's great. He's playing great and all this local stuff. And then he waited just a little bit more to commit, and now he's going to Arizona. So we kind of believe in getting guys really early. I'm looking at 2026 as almost strictly if a 2025 that I know no one's talking to jumps off the page at this event tomorrow, then yeah, I might reach out to him, just see where he is in his process. But we're really looking at 2026.
Coach, day in the life, Fresno State. Tell the audience a little bit about what, if I come there as a player, what does it look like for me?
It's obviously fun. The weather's good. It's good all year long. Coach and I try to make practice so that it is engaging. We're working on things we need to be working on, but it's also fun, right? I think that is the biggest piece in keeping people, just anyone, engaged and wanting to come back. Because if we're just going out there and grinding for 2 hours, yes, you might be getting better, but in the full length of the season, that desire to get better is gonna depreciate. Especially with how much these guys have to do every week. But we start early. Monday, Wednesdays, we work out at 6, and then generally guys have class from 8 to 12ish, and then we practice every day at 1. So we're an afternoon team. The weather's good enough. Most times of the year, we have enough light to finish at least 9 or 18 holes. And so we play Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So we play a lot. But generally, we'll go between a wedge practice and a short game practice. We always have a little bit of putting in there, but that's kind of what our week looks like.
Now, do you guys, is there an emphasis on the workouts? You just mentioned you had a player that came in, gained 30 pounds. What's the workout look like? What's the mental coaching look like?
So as far as the workouts, that was kind of an extreme, right? We kind of set guys up on different paths. Most freshmen, they come in, it's like, hey, we got to get you in the gym a little bit more, right? That's just kind of how it is. You're going into a man's body or a full adult body. So freshmen, it's generally like, hey, this is what we're going to emphasize. But really, our workouts aren't super brutal. We're not lifting, we're not doing power cleans, we're not doing anything crazy like that. Yeah, we do light bench press, but other than that, it's a lot of mobility work. Trying to stay healthy so that you can get stronger and move in your body. And then as far as mental work, we really just emphasize, hey guys, because honestly, these guys are so good. We just emphasize them, hey, we're trying to be prepared, right? We have 3 things that we really work on: being prepared, being present, and being a good teammate, right? Those are the 3 big things for us. And if they're doing those things, it's like, hey, you are going to be mentally ready. If you're doing everything you can to be ready for this golf course, I mean, there's not much that we can do. Obviously, we have a guy here or there that has an anger problem. Work on that, right? We talk to them through, hey, what's going on? But as far as true mental coaching, we have a sports psychologist that will bring in every once in a while, but that's kind of a specialty thing. But for the entire team, we just kind of go guy by guy, see what we need to do.
Coach, I find this really an interesting development, but from the time a junior golfer starts playing golf, the goal for most that are, at a pretty high level, it's to play college golf, to get some sort of scholarship, to be able to go to a college, to play at the next level. And the goal is to play college golf. And obviously, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of spots where you can ultimately achieve your goal of playing college golf. Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, Power 5, junior college. There's a lot of opportunity. When the player arrives at Fresno State, is the goal to be on the PGA Tour? Is that the goal of most of your players? How realistic is that? If it's not realistic, how do you keep them engaged and give them a new goal if they know in 4 years, well, in 4 years, this is all over. I'm not going to be on the tour. What am I going to do?
Yeah, I think that we try to find guys that want to play on the PGA Tour. That's something that we look for, because if your goal is to play college golf, you get there and then all of a sudden, hey, like I've reached my goal. What do I do now? Obviously, these goals change as you get older. Like you said, you start to realize like, hey, there's such a limited amount of guys that play on the PGA Tour. For us, we really try and focus on, okay, like, yeah, you might not play on the PGA Tour, but this is our team goal, right? I'll give an example. Like our team goal this year was to make the national championship. Okay. Came a little short, made it to regionals, whatever, right? We had a great team, played great for a majority of the year, just didn't play well at regionals. So then we work backwards from the national championship, right? What are the things that we have to do? Okay. And then what are the things? And then we finally end up at the 3 things that I talked about. The culture aspect, right? Okay, so this is our standard. This is who we are. This is who we're trying to be. And we're going to try as hard as we can to get to the middle ring, to get to the final ring. I think that is how we kept guys better or more motivated this year than in years past, because it was kind of like, hey, everybody wants to win the conference championship, right? Everybody wants to win college tournaments, but how do we get there? It's kind of more making a roadmap, because if you just put that national championship up there, oh, like, how are we going to get there? We kind of made a roadmap for them. Hey, this is how we're going to get there. So that's kind of what we've done, and I think it's worked pretty well. Obviously, we didn't get to the national championship, so it didn't work as planned, but I think it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, you're in a tough regional, so it's okay. I mean,
yes.
Coach, I think one of the things that we don't talk about enough, and this is going to be a little bit on the dark side, so I apologize to you right away. But we see this happening quite often in sports, and we're seeing it more prevalent in golf now. Obviously, we had the tragedy with Grayson Murray a couple of weeks ago. We understand too that, and we see it, Ryan and I see it through the junior golf world, how much pressure is on these kids, how they're feeling a little bit kind of torn about what they're doing, the love of golf, and all the things that put us into anxious positions. At the college level, are you seeing some of this as well? How do you guys deal with that? And maybe you have friends, maybe yourself. I know you're a player. How do we help the audience know what to do about it, right? Is there something that we do about it at the collegiate level?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think especially guys in my class, I was halfway through my college career and then COVID hit, right? Like there was a massive like rise in anxiety and depression and stuff like that. And I'm sure all of us, right? Like I've had like little spouts of just like, dude, like what am I doing? Like why am I doing this? And then eventually, like for me personally, I kind of developed like it was like almost like anxiety on the golf course. I would get out there and I would get real anxious. Like, man, like what's going on? But I didn't, like in the moment, you have no idea what's going on. It takes some like reflection. And it's so weird that like I look back now and I'm like, dude, this was so obvious. Like, how did I not see that I was this, and this, whatever? But the one thing we really, really encourage guys, and I think since 2020 COVID, all that stuff, the schools are so great about like, hey, if you need like help mentally, dude, just reach out to this. Your coach will never know. Like all of these, you have so many resources to your disposal. But we really promote guys because at the end of the day, their season is so long. I kind of think about it. They start in the spring, they play spring golf, right? Then they go into summer, and then 2 weeks later, they're starting college golf again. So their season really is from spring through fall. Then they have 2 months. We push our guys really hard to take 2 weeks off, week off, 2 weeks off, whatever it is, just to reset. Like, hey, go enjoy like being a college 22-year-old, 21-year-old, whatever it is. And then obviously like you see burnout in guys, right? Like that's part of it. Just trying to keep things fun, because that's why everybody played in the first place, is keep things fun. So I think those three things: keeping things light, keeping them fun, um, the taking time off. You have to take time off. There's no way around it. You're going to burn out, and you don't want to do that, especially as a junior. And then the obviously you have the support system of, for us, Fresno State.
How about for you, going from player to coach? And we joked at the top of the telecast that you were our youngest coach that we've had. But how big of an advantage do you think it is for you and for Fresno State that you can identify, probably more so than many coaches out there, just because of your age and how it wasn't that long ago you were in their shoes playing college golf? Do you use that in your messaging to them to try to help them?
100%. So I had a coach that had the same thing as me. He was actually a family friend of mine. He played and then went straight into coaching, and he said that his biggest regret was not being as connected to the guys as he was. He kind of severed that connection because he wanted to translate to the coach, right? But he said that was his biggest mistake, because that's how you get to guys, is through connection, through um, being like-minded. And so I use that every opportunity I get. It's, hey, like, I know what's going on. Like, I was just there. And I use it in recruiting too. Like, I know the struggles that you're going to face, and I'm able to be there for you, and I know like ways that has helped me get through this. So I tap into it every possible chance I get, and it definitely is an advantage for us. I feel like I am very relatable to the guys right now, and it's hard because hopefully there's going to be a time, right? Hopefully I'm coaching long enough, but there's going to be a time where I'm going to have to relearn how to do this. And so I definitely think there's an advantage having a young assistant. But yeah, I hope that answered the question.
You did, and I'll just tag it with this. It wasn't that long ago that you were a junior golfer being recruited. So looking at your own experience and relating it now to the junior players that are listening to this and the parents that are listening to this, what do you think went right in your recruiting process, and what do you think went wrong? What, if you were to do the entire thing over again, and you start at 9, 10 years old, knowing everything you know now, what advice would you give to yourself about the recruiting process?
I think that I committed very early. When I was in high school, the date that coaches could communicate with you was August. It actually might have been September. It might have been September 1st. I'm pretty sure it was September 1st. So I committed like September 5th to Fresno State. This is where I wanted to be. I believed in Coach Spencer. I believed in the culture he was trying to recreate, because we had lost our way for a little bit, and which a lot of programs do that. They go through a rebuild. But the only thing that I would do differently is I would have waited to commit. I think I'm almost positive I would have still ended up in the same situation, but I got complacent my, let's say, junior year, which is easy to do. It's like, hey, like, I just committed to college golf. This is awesome. But my plan wasn't to commit to being a college golf athlete. Like, I wanted to be really good, and I wanted to be a good player, a great player. And so I lost a little bit of a drive for there, about a year, but then I really started to pick back up, like, hey, like, I can't do this, because at that time I was beating, college players left and right all the time, in amateur events. I was winning junior tournaments. So it was like I had like a false sense of confidence, then, because I started how you guys talk about it, right? Winning in your hometown, winning regionally, and then going into AJGAs. And I hadn't gotten to the AJGA part yet. I was getting my butt kicked, like, left and right. It was crazy. And so I realized, I was like, man, I gotta pick it up. But that's kind of my biggest thing. And then as far as like playing, the biggest lesson I learned from my playing career was I have like an unconventionally strong grip. And at 1 year in college, I tried to change it, and I just completely lost where the face was. Had no clue where the ball was going. If I were to give advice to junior golfers, do not change what you do well, but make what you do well better, along with the things you don't do well. That's probably the biggest tip I would give.
Great advice.
That's some really good advice. I think we see that a lot where, players start, hey, I got to tinker with this. I got to get better at this. Somebody told me my club face was in the wrong place, this or that. And, they start chasing something at the wrong time. I do think in some senses it has to do with what is your long-term goal, right? What's the long view? And the long view is if it's to be the best player in the world, boy, there's always constant development, constant learning and getting better at things. So I do. That's some good advice. I know a lot of junior golfers could then maybe heed that advice and do much better for sure.
Coach, I'll jump to the last couple things of this, which is we always try to give our players a better roadmap, if you will, of how to get recruited. And we've heard the coaches have kind of give us the gamut, but for Fresno State, do you guys prefer to be recruited or to be the recruiters? Do you like the freshmen and the sophomores to start reaching out to you before that June 15th day, letting them know what their scores are? Let them know that, hey, if in a perfect world, I'd love to come play at Fresno. Keep your eye on me, and on June 15th, hopefully I make your list.
Yeah, 100%. I'm actually going to watch a kid tomorrow that he's been reaching out like, hey, like I'm interested in Fresno State. Here's my scores. This is what I'm playing in. That stuff is attractive to us because at the end of the day, we do not want someone that doesn't want to be here, right? If you don't want to be here, you're probably not working as hard as you could be. You're probably not living up to the standards that we set for our team. We want people that want to be here. And I mean, I would say we obviously don't get a lot of that because we're kind of that mid-major school, right? Maybe the schools at USC, UCLA, Stanford, they get those emails all the time, right? They're always getting those emails. So it's harder for us because we obviously don't get as many emails as those guys. So a lot of the people that we're getting emails from might not be on our list. But yes, we would love to see, like, hey, if you're interested in Fresno State, email us. Let us know. You could be in 8th grade. Who cares? Like, you don't know where you're going to end up. So reach out, and obviously just know we're not going to be able to reach back out till June 15th of your junior year. So
that's good advice. I think a lot of times people don't realize how fast this goes by, right? I know talking with thousands of parents over the years, it's like, they're 7th grade, and the next thing you know, they're going into their senior year in high school, and they miss so much of this process thinking, well, I got to wait till my junior year to do something. I want to make sure I have a resume to send, that kind of thing. But I'm a firm believer as well. Start early enough to just make contact, start exploring, start kind of getting your name out there, let people kind of recognize who you are, and then build your resume as it goes along, and hopefully the right things happen, and the right two connect, if you will, the right school, the right athlete connect, and it becomes very magical, if you will. So yeah, good advice.
Yeah. Coach, honestly, this was a real breath of fresh air. We really appreciate you reaching out to us. I'm glad that you've enjoyed the podcast, and certainly we know there are more junior golfers playing the sport of golf than any other metric of golf. There's more junior golfers than there are men that play, women that play, obviously professionals that play. So we have this huge mass of humanity of kids that are playing junior golf, and there just aren't a lot of answers out there on how to take it to the next level. So we really appreciate you coming on the show. I'll tell you right now, there's big things coming your way. I can see that for sure. You have what it takes, and look forward to watching your career, Coach.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks, Coach.
Best of
Good
luck.
luck.
Well, Roger, that was interesting on a lot of levels. I mean, I think that, even just, I'm not saying that a coaching staff with coaches in their 60s or 70s isn't maybe a great coach to play for, because it could be. But I do like the idea of having a young assistant that can help and identify the things that you're going through as a player.
Yeah. Well, the relatability, I mean, to his point of, I mean, he literally just finishing up what they are doing now, right? I mean, within a year or so, that relatability, how much he's going through, what's happening, and being able to give some real-time answers is really important. I think again, back to, this might be the first time a player's been away from home, not having their support system, if you will, close by. And then going to a coach sometimes that is many years removed from a college player or college life. I think it can be very daunting for some players, right? So him being there, I think it's great. I'm sure the coach loves it. The youth energy that it takes these days to go out and be and on the recruiting path, if you will. These guys are traveling all over the place trying to find the best talent. So you might need, this is a young person's game, I think.
Yeah. And then I want to talk to our listeners and viewers, Roger, because in this day and age of social media, so often everything is judged against what you see on social media. And what you're going to see in the next week is you're going to see the top players start to announce where they're going to go play college golf.
Mm-hmm.
It happens every year. And for a player that wants to play college golf that is not that far along on their process, it can be demoralizing. It can be a little bit depressing. Or why is that happening to them and not me? I'll just say, more often than not, when you hear coaches like Coach Pulliam and others, many schools are waiting, taking a slower approach and waiting to see how you move into your junior year. Are you improving? Are you getting better? So instead of worrying about what's done, and maybe someone on social media that you have no idea why it is that they signed on June 20th. They could have had a sibling there. They could have a family member at the school that they're able to basically go for no scholarship at all. And you don't know the details on why that signing happened. Just keep trying to get better. And there's enough schools for everyone, right, Roger?
Oh, there's so many programs and so many spots out there. As you mentioned earlier, from JUCO to Power 5 conferences, there's opportunities, and coaches now are looking and exploring different places to find that talent coming in. And again, that late bloomer who goes to a JUCO or goes to maybe a smaller school to start with, there's so much opportunity for sure. I had a really good thought there for a moment. Now I've kind of lost it, Ryan.
Well, hopefully it comes back to you.
Yeah, I know. It's a sign of age, unfortunately, for me.
Well, while you're thinking of that, I will touch on the idea of what we touched on early on with Coach Pulliam, which was predictive measures, and how difficult it is to ultimately predict who's going to be better down the road, when really, when you're just looking at scores, there's the large body of players are between that 67, 73. And it's really different when you're talking about hundreds of players the same age that are all in that same mix. How ultimately do you try to identify who's going to be the better player 2, 3, 4 years down the line? And certainly, Roger, we think that you have developed a system that is the great predictor, that is the crystal ball for not only players but for coaches and PDI, and certainly we hear more and more coaches talking about these kind of things and how PDI ultimately helps do their job for them. For our families and players that want to put a PDI score next to their college recruiting, because as we talk about, we hear the coaches say, email us, Tell us your schedule. Tell us your scores. Tell us your PDI score. Boy, that really can completely separate you in the recruiting process if you're able to attach a PDI score to your recruiting resume.
Yeah, well, again, it's more than just a number, right? It allows the coaches to understand a little bit more deeply about where your skill sets are. Is it a good fit for the team, where they are, what they're looking for at that time? Because you might be a late bloomer, but yet you're late bloomer when it comes to scoring, or late bloomer when it comes to tournament play. But boy, you have the skills, you have the mental capacity, you have the physical attributes that's going to allow you to continue to grow and get better. And that's really important for those coaches to know that, because they want you there for the next 3-4 years. They don't want you to come in and transfer out because you've got a better opportunity. They want to see that develop, as Coach Pulliam just said. And I kind of, that's where I was thinking, Ryan. It was like, just reading some things regarding the rankings and the Junior Golf Hub rankings now, and how some people are kind of giving us some really good feedback, right? So, hey, I've got a really good player, but their rank is really low. They've beat some of the best players in the country, but their ranking is really low. Where if we had, kids who are playing in lots of events, our ranking seems to be higher, and that gets more play. And in fact, if we hear what the college coaches are telling us about, they want players who love to play the game and continue playing, not just get their rankings up and stop playing. And I think that kind of, bodes well towards the Junior Golf Hub rankings, and why what we just, heard was they want to see the kids continuing to play and coming into college ready to play, not, hey, I got my rankings up so I can stop playing. So, right. And it is just a starting point. So it's not the end all be all, but making sure that, they look at those skills and look at continuing to develop and play based on their desire to be better, right? Not just their desire to get recruited at the right place and then go there and not actually be ready to play.
We know all kids and parents, they love the ranking system. Certainly the Junior Golf Hub has developed JGR. We do get a lot of questions on where is it ultimately before being an end system. You brought it up, JGR. What is the feedback you're getting? How close is it ultimately to where it is going to be the only ranking system the colleges use?
Well, I mean, listen, it's always going to be a work in progress, Ryan. I mean, at the end of the day, the feedback has been very positive. We get positive feedback every single day about, hey, I'm glad that, I can actually put my score somewhere. I can keep my entire body of work, if you will, as a junior golfer in one place. It helps with parents managing the whole process of the tournaments, where they're going to be playing, what happens to their scores. And so it's all in one place, right? And yeah, there's some negatives too. Well, we're counting 9 whole scores from US kids, and it's not about counting the scores for the rankings. It's really about making the players accountable for showing their body of work, showing their development. That's really more what we're, kind of responding to, not just because, hey, you've played in this great event, but you didn't play anywhere else, right? Right. We want them to feel good about all of their work that they're doing. It's kind of like any of us who go to our jobs and say, well, I can be good one day, right? Am I good every day, right? And that's hard to do. So over time, though, you show progress and you show results. And I think that's what we're really trying to help these families understand. It's not about just occasionally doing well. It's showing that you're actually getting better and you like to get better. Right. I mean, that's really important.
Well, it is an incredible undertaking. Bless you. You think about the amount of countries that JGR has included in this process, what that ultimately is going to mean on helping these colleges start their process. And we know it is just a starting point. But again, check out, see where you're at in the latest JGR. Go to juniorgolfhub.com and be sure to check that out as well. Certainly thank Coach Pulliam and Fresno State for coming on the show today, Roger. It's a great time of year, man. I mean, every single day there is a junior golf and an amateur event around the country being played. It's summertime. This is when you play for the love of the game. we're watching this sport just continue to grow, and certainly junior golf just continues to grow as well. So we know the Junior Golf Hub is a huge part of that growth, and certainly commend everything you and the Hub have been able to do to help grow this great sport. So for our director and producer, Michael Nick, for Roger Nick, as always, I'm Ryan Burr saying until next time, we'll see you real soon on the Hub of Junior Golf Podcast.